Hello. Oh, I shouldn't be laughing. I really, really shouldn't be laughing. But what can you do? What can you do? What can you do when you're watching this every single week in, week out? What can you do? What do you expect me to do? You're supposed to laugh in the face of misery, aren't you? Yes, so that's what we're going to do. We're gonna laugh a little bit, because if I do anything else, it's going to involve crying. just just laugh, people, please. We're gonna. Oh, first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me after what I'm sure has been a wonderful hour and a half that you've had to witness there. Thank you. We are going to discuss everything. I'm still sort of struggling with what I want to say. I really sort of don't know where you go from here. The obvious thing, there is an obvious thing to do when you go from here. We all know what the obvious thing to do is, and that's to sack the manager. But we don't know if that's going to happen or not. I was told that he was gone on Monday back in Spain. We saw it on Twitter. That's what everyone said. Yeah, lo and behold, he's there on Wednesday doing his press conference. So who knows? No one knows. No one knows. Robert Sanger says, you love it. So I just picked that out. Avon says, I blame people for going. Jamin says, the players have down tools. Gooner Nail says, I can't cry or laugh. Elventures says, I watched paint dry and had more fun. Can you send me the link? I'll be interested in checking that out, mate. On 1999, it says, I'll drive him to the airport myself, and I can't drive. Willing to sacrifice himself to get this out of here. Andy McDonald says, hi, Tommy boy, go have a whiskey. I have. I mean, you didn't see that, but that is what has happened because of this awful thing that's going on. What is going on? What is going on? Archie says, Albert, a disgrace. He was shocking. Midnight says, we're a joke. South London's finest bees says, lovely Jubilee, lads. What a performance. And we have Norwich next, away from home. A side which ship goals for fun. And it's fair to say that this season, Frankfurt aren't a great side. They are out of form. They aren't playing well. Kamada, who scored for them, I believe, hasn't scored since or at all for Frankfurt. He joined in 2017 and scored his first goal and then his second goal of his Frankfurt career this evening, just to rub that little bit of extra salt into the wounds. So that happened. Malteser, UK, says that he's doing a great job. I can only imagine, Malteser, that you are a fan of another club or just having a bit of a joke. The Game in Pod says Albert was one of the few putting the heart in. Let's talk about the match because we can go on and on about what we know should happen. We know that Unai should be going. I think we can all agree. We have come together as a fan base. Those that wanted Arsene Wenger to stay, those that wanted Arsene Wenger to leave, those that didn't really care. But we have come together finally as a whole in one solid movement to witness our current manager, hopefully leave this club. But in terms of the game, let's talk about the actual game itself because there were certain things which are worth talking about. The first one is the lineup and certain people that were playing tonight, and that is Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka returned to the side since his telling the fans to F off situation. If it was down to me when it happened, I wouldn't have ever played the guy again. That is my opinion. I have as I've said this, and I'm not going to go over it again and again because I've said it a million times. I've got empathy for the guy about the abuse that he got, but ultimately, as a captain, you couldn't act in that way. But he is back. And one thing I should say is because it's important as anyone to look at two sides of things. And my head at with the Xhaka situation is that since we've been out, we haven't won a single game. Since he has been out of the team, we've not won a game in this side. And to be fair, we didn't win tonight either, and he played. So you can bring that up. But I thought there was a couple of good things that he did bring to the side. The passing for him was something that I think we've lacked in midfield. We've lacked that sort of confident spray of the ball into wide positions. But he isn't the guy that changed things. He's not a great footballer. He's a decent footballer. And I'm sure that if he is to go in January, there'll be a fair few sides that are trying to sign him. But at the same time, I just don't think that you can say that even though we've not won a game since Xhaka left the side, that's not the reason why. The changes in terms of the substitutions. The first one Guendouzi on for David Luiz. Now let's talk about the David Luiz situation. Clearly, he was trying to try something. That's something that a lot of people have been asking for. A lot of people have been asking for David Luiz to be pushed into that defensive midfield role. And I actually thought it was going okay. I thought it was doing all right. I quite liked him in there a little bit further forward. Knew actually how to play the ball out. His distribution is very good. We know that. It wasn't putting him at the back where he's more vulnerable to some of his defensive errors. I quite liked it. So that's just where I sit on that. It was a big shame that he actually had to come off, and maybe the result would have been different had he not have done. But I just think that there's something there. There's a possibility we've got another player, if we don't sign anyone, to possibly play that role. And it's really, really interesting. I'm interested to see your thoughts. Jack Perry says he actually liked Luiz at CDM. Saar says Luiz didn't do anything because he got injured. He did. I thought he did a fair amount before he came off. I thought he looked solid in terms of his passing. He made a couple of decent interceptions. I think there is enough to look at there to say that there is a small, ever so slight chance that we may have an option in that position. And it's not something we can always focus on the big question, but it's the big question. It's always important to, I said the big question because it's a big thing at my school right now, the big question. So whenever I hear those words, it's like, but in terms of like looking at the little things, it is important. We have a player. We have the player, Torreira, says Bulgarian. And you're right, we do have him. And he should be playing there, but he's not. And I tweeted out that he looks the most confused player that we have ever had. Not because of his quality, not because of anything demeaning towards him, but because Torreira is a CDM that's not playing CDM. Even when Ozil came on, Ozil was deeper than our defensive midfielder, was coming back to try and retrieve the ball. And that meant the play slowed down. Because what Ozil does, something that I like a lot of what he does, and I dislike a lot of what he does. But one of the things that I am very critical of is that when we're on the break, if he's caught on the right-hand side of the pitch, he has the tendency to cut back. And that slows us down. And I'd much rather he was further up the pitch and it was Torreira on his right foot on the right-hand side, or even on the left-hand side, that actually made that connection between the back of the midfield and the forward line. So there was that. We'd already made one substitution, of course, because of the David Luiz injury. But then by deciding to bring on Lucas Torreira and Ozil, that meant that we had two players on the bench that meant that we couldn't win the game, which were Pepe and Lacazette. Now, in my head, if you're Unai Emery and you know that Mesut Ozil, who Javier doesn't even reckon played this evening, if you're Unai Emery and you know that Mesut Ozil and you yourself don't have the best of relationships, if you're going to rely on one person to come onto the field and try and rescue your career, are you really going to put your job in the hands of someone that you have clashed with? Because if I'm Unai Emery, I'm not turning to Mesut Ozil to be the guy to turn things around in the game, which could save your job. I'd be looking at someone like Laka or Pepe, and even then, I think you're pushing the boat out a bit far. So I really wouldn't be looking at Ozil as the guy that's going to come in to change things. And that happened. Ozil really didn't do anything when he came on. I think he's been quite good since coming back into the first team in the Premier League. But in terms of what he did tonight, he didn't do anything, let's be honest. And then the Torreira substitution meant that it ruled out any chance of seeing that Pepe or Lacazette. Now, I know Mustafi was injured, but we're losing. We're losing, right? Just go for it. Just take off Mustafi and put Lacazette on. Drop into a back three and go into not even with wing backs, but drop into a back three of what? Chambers, Socrates, and Tierney. Tierney's played centre back. Chambers has played centre back. I'm talking about Tierney for Scotland. They both have played centre back. Then you just play with Saka on the left, and most likely, who would go on the right? Well, I suppose if you brought Pepe on, he would go on the right. Okay? You've got that situation there. And one of the other things, he took Martinelli off. He took Martinelli off when Saka had done absolutely nothing for me. I think Saka's got a lot of potential. I don't think he was shocking. Avon Teddington says Saka was not shocking. He was one of the better players in the first half. He helped set up our goal. And I'm not saying that he was shocking. I don't think he did nothing. And if I did say that, that's wrong. I don't mean to say he did nothing. I don't think he did nothing. I just think that Martinelli was giving us so much more energy, so much more chasing, so much more desire. And yet we took him off. And I don't know if that's down because they want to protect him, maybe because he could start against Norwich. But we were down. We needed a goal, and you don't want to take off the guy that could get you that goal, the guy that has been arguably the most in form for us this entire season, and we're taking him off in a situation in which we need to score. And I should say, by the way, we are, even though it looks extremely unlikely that we wouldn't qualify, but we haven't qualified yet. Okay, we have not qualified for the next round, because if we lose to Standard Liège by a considerable amount, and that's something I can see actually happening under this current manager right now, and Frankfurt win their game against Vitoria, then there's all the chance that we could still not qualify. I know I'm absolutely ridiculous by saying that, because the scoreline we'd have to lose by is huge. But who is to say that anything is not possible right now? And who is to say that these players wouldn't down tools to prove a point right now? And that's a criticism of them, by the way, not just Emery, that the players are letting themselves down, because I completely understand if you don't want to play for a manager. Trust me, I get that. I really do. If you don't want to work for a boss, you don't want to work for a boss. But at the end of the day, you're employed there. You've got to do the best job that you possibly can. And we know that those players are not doing the best that they possibly can. Let's look at some of your comments whilst I try and grab the reality back in my life. Pam Rasta says, Martinelli got subbed because he got a yellow card. He won't be selected for the Norwich game. So what, he got a yellow card? He's a forward player. He's unlikely to get another one. I don't see that. If it's a defender or a defensive side of midfielder or even a central midfielder, I see the point. But I don't see the yellow card being a thing when he's definitely offering us a lot more. It's cowardice. It really is. Owolo says, absolutely shocking. It's not all about Emery. Let's call a spade a spade. Exactly. And we've definitely covered that. Matt Grink says, be excited. Jeffrey says, if you've lost faith in anything, you won't give it your all. And that's a fair point. I understand that. And psychologically, there's always going to be an effect like that. Studio Tech says, I never understood all the ranting and raving about what a steal Guendouzi was. We basically got what we paid for, a Ligue 2 midfielder. I think that's harsh. I think that Guendouzi had a really, really good start to the season. And I think, like a lot of the other players on the team, has gradually declined. And I think there is a lot to come from Guendouzi. And you can't say that Guendouzi is a poor player, because I'm sorry, but he's being selected for the French national team, the world bloody champions. So let's not be ridiculous now. He isn't a poor player. He's having a bad time after a really good start to the season. And he's being selected by his national team, which are arguably the best national side in the world right now. And that counts for something. Okay? So I wouldn't go as far to say that Guendouzi is a bad player. He's not been great. In fact, he's been pretty darn poor recently. But I think saying that he's a bad player and he's a Ligue 2 level midfielder is very harsh, Studio Tech. It's just my opinion, of course. Ross Morgan says Gen was rubbish when he came on. Saka had a poor game. Femi says Laka should start ahead of Aubameyang. Wow, I thought Aubameyang was personally the most really going for it player on the pitch today, but entitled to your opinion, fella. Midnight says lowest ever attendance at the Emirates tonight, and this could be our worst run since 1992. Facts. Emery has to go tonight. Does anyone in the chat actually know the official number? They message. I mean, I doubt that Arsenal would go out and say we had 7 people in the ground tonight. That was it. And 5 of those were Frankfurt fans. Nico says, I'm willing to bet Lacazette and Aubameyang are leaving, and I don't blame them. We are a banter side and have no structure nor proper tactics. God save Arsenal. Joseph Maseko says, is Willett going to escape criticism? He was worse than Guendouzi in this match. I don't think that he was dreadful. I thought he was quite good at actually driving the ball forward. Yes, he made some errors, and yes, that will happen. He's still young, quite like Guendouzi. I think we're forgetting a lot that these players are still very inexperienced on the top level, and sometimes you have to do that. If the minute a player starts to perform badly, we go in on them, there is, and it's naive to say it isn't, but there is going to be a mental impact on those players. They should be mentally strong, I agree with you, but we know that we don't have that at Arsenal. So I don't think we should jump on these youngsters right away, especially considering that they were developed in a system under Arsene Wenger all the way through the youth ranks to the first team, like Willock, like Nelson. Obviously, Guendouzi is exempt from this. But those players were developed in a system knowing that they'd be going into a first team eventually that got them playing very exciting football. Now they're in the first team, not under that sort of management system and under a different management. And again, I stress, I wanted Wenger gone, just like a lot of people did. But now we're in a situation where we're under a coach which is not playing any sort of dynamic football whatsoever. And that's going to have a detrimental effect on players that have been coached and developed through their youth system for many, many, many years. Thank you for the donation. Demasi says the players don't care. The manager is inept. No style, no fight, no identity. Contract issues. A board seemingly content with mediocrity. No wins in 7, no clean sheets in 9, and a near empty stadium. See, this is one of the comments where I sit back and go, I have a fantastic audience that I have for you guys, because the quality of that writing is great, and I agree with absolutely every single word of it. So thank you very much for the donation again, Damas. Thank you for the support. Jeffro Ebo says, at PSG, the players actually held a team meeting with Emery and questioned his tactics. Tells you a lot about what Emery's tactics actually are. Khalid says, where is Pepe? He was on the bench, didn't get brought on. He preferred bringing on Torreira in a game in which we needed to win. Frank Gunner says, we missed good chances and paid for it. Frinton says, we have imploded this season. Yes, it started towards the end of last season, but this cannot continue under Emery. Joseph says, Tom, I'm not saying people should hate on Willock, and fair play, and I'm fair play for allowing him to respond. But people hating on Guendouzi when he wasn't even the worst midfielder in this match. I get that, Joseph. I do. I understand that if we're going to criticise one player and someone else, in your opinion, you think has played worse, shouldn't escape criticism. I agree that that's a fair point to bring up. My difference with the opinion is that I don't actually think that Guendouzi was better than Willock on the field. And I think there are other factors in play when it comes to some of these players' performances. When you actually look at the more experienced players on the pitch, like Socrates, again, making silly mistakes at the back and passing into stupid situations, holding onto the ball for too long in certain situations, that's where I draw the line and say that something is not going right with the communication and the dictation and the marshalling and leadership from up high and on the pitch too. That's why I was kind of critical of Aubameyang being captain at this time. Whilst I think he can be a leader, and some of the articles I've read on The Athletic have definitely told me that he has the qualities of being a leader, I just feel that defence needs a character in there that is going to provide that. And to be honest, we probably don't even have that right now. Peter Renner says, Tom, I don't get the gamble on Emery if he says beyond the transfer window, Lack and Alba are gone. Then we will be back to square one. No defence and no attack. And to be honest, I can't blame them. I don't know how long I'm going to stay on for, probably about 10, 30 more minutes or so. But if we're around for when Emery releases any statements in the press conference, we will throw them up on the screen for you. I'm going to try and stay on for as long as possible so we can get as many of your views in here as feasibly possible. Frinton Dino says, Tom, are you worried about losing our best players and being left with the ones we cannot move on? Am I worried? Of course I'm worried. I think it would be naive to not be worried about that. Who could go? Aubameyang really, really is a concern for me. Lacazette is always going to be a concern when Alba is concerned, because those two are like two peas in a pod. So it's two PEAs in a pod. But I just think that if one of those goes, we're in a situation where Aubameyang is towards the end of his contract. So is Lacazette. We're not going to get anywhere near the amount of money that we paid for them. And with both of them nearing, I mean, Alba is over 30 and Laka is 28, I want to say 28, then you're only going to get a decent fee for the Frenchman. And the Gabonese striker, while should command a big fee because of the contract situation, I don't see us getting too much money back for that guy. And I'm really trying to speak in a certain way which isn't so downtrodden that I think this will happen. But there's definitely the chance that it could. And I don't doubt that for a second. Ola says the players are not playing for the manager. They have given up on him. Gareth, sorry, just missed your comment, Gareth, with everyone's commenting so fast. I found it. Guendouzi just can't pass forward. Is it just a lack of confidence? I think the whole team's got a lack of confidence. It's not just about passing forwards, but it's also about the movement of the team, opening space up, allowing and creating those passing lanes. I talked about it for so long, because people always basically, and you're all well aware, because I'm sure you're all veterans of Arsenal Twitter these days, but if you have an affinity to a player, or you say something about a player that you like, so for instance, El Neni, when he joined, I had an interview, and those who are long-time listeners of the channel will know that we do plenty of interviews with lots of European experts about different players across the pitch. I interviewed Oliver Zeziger, who is the Switzerland football manager researcher when El Neni was at Basel. And when I spoke to him, he would be telling me about how good of his passing range is, how good he looks in that league, and what he could bring to Arsenal. Now, I don't think that Elneny achieved quite what I expected him to based upon what Oliver told me. However, a lot of the time, a lot of the criticisms about Elneny was his passing, that it was too sideways or it was too passive. But the thing is that we didn't create enough space and enough movement to incorporate a player like Elneny that would provide us with those different types of passes. And we're still seeing it now. And that's why you're seeing Guendouzi really lack confidence, because he hasn't got the options. There's no movement. There's no real taste or desire to get the ball from Guendouzi. And so he's forced, as a very young player, to make rash decisions at the back. And that leads him to make mistakes. And that's why we're seeing him make all these errors. And that's why I'm reluctant to jump on the guy, because I think there are mitigating circumstances that are the reasons why he plays in the way that he does. I hope that answers your question, Gareth. Kamal says, I would sell Alba if we got a decent offer. What constitutes a decent offer, and what will we... I mean, are you even trustworthy that we would do the right thing with the money if we got it? Because I'm not. Coastal Chow says, Gooner talk. I'll give Xhaka my personal respects, but if Emery has a job tomorrow, then Cadbury must be a manufacturer of lamp, because it's confusing and completely ludicrous. Emery out. I think that if he has a job for the Norwich game, I mean, I'm really interested to get your views in the comment section below on actually how you see this moving forward. In the chat box, can you please put if you think that Emery will be in charge for the Norwich game? If you think he will, put yes. If you think he won't, please put no. I'm really intrigued to sort of get a feeling. Do you think he's going to be in charge for the Norwich game? If you do, put yes. If you don't, press no. I mean, if it was up to me, I'm still leaning towards yes. I don't know why. It's just that insane sort of thing inside me where I'm just thinking, is Raul going to be this stubborn to keep the guy at the team? Ty Brown says yes. Spore says no. Canoe says yes. Love FPL says A. Chelsea says no. Plenty of you are saying no, and I'm seeing a lot of differences. I'm sure you're seeing it with me. Graham says yes. Emmanuel says yes. Love FPL says yes, sadly. Plenty of you are really, really getting involved tonight, which I really, really appreciate, guys. Carol says yes. Corey says no. Again, I think it's going to be a case in which we have a situation where the... you don't call him a director of football anymore, head of football in Raul Sanllehi has to make a big decision. And it'll be a big decision because not only will the pressure mount on Emery even more if he stays, but we'll be in a situation where Raul will try and stop the opinion of himself dropping. And if he wants to do that, then Emery has to go. Could you please do me a favour? I am going to tweet out on the Twitter, will Emery be in charge for the Norwich game? And you can follow us at the Gooner Talk TV on Twitter. I'm going to tweet that out. It's going to go on for about an hour or so, or 2 hours. Please go over and vote onto that poll and let me know what you think. Give it a retweet so we can get as many people's thoughts as possible. No, I don't want to put it for 1 day and 2 hours. So there you go. Will Emery be in charge for the game against Norwich? Yes or no? It is on the Twitter. Please feel free to go over there and follow us at the Gooner Talk TV. Now, before we go through some more of your comments, there is something that you are going to be very, very interested in for tomorrow's upload. Tomorrow's upload is going to be the 6th, I believe, managerial tactical breakdown. If you've been watching the series and the shows, you'll know we've been covering plenty of managers. Tomorrow's show is going to be talking about a certain Nuno Espirito Santo, a certain Wolves manager that has been linked to Arsenal very heavily over the last few days. I'm going to be chatting to Stuart, who is from the Wolves Fancast. He's come on the show before to talk to us in our Eyes of the Opposition show, which we usually preview games. But Stuart, basically, I'm going to give you a little teaser into this, a little teaser. Should I play it through the mic? If you want me to play this video through the mic, just to give you a little bit of insight into tomorrow's show, then please press that like button. If you want to press that like button and we can get it up a little bit, I will play for you some of that interview as a little teaser for tomorrow's show. So hit that like button. In a couple of minutes time, I will play you that if I feel that we have got the love up and up in this chat this evening. Let's get some more of your comments before we do that. Vincenzo says Raul the fraud won't sack Emery because the board don't want to pay Emery £4 million. Omar Hamid says yes, this Arsenal board has got no shame. If not, he should be sacked tonight. Avon Tillin says go on. He really wants me to put this video up. I know, trust me, I will be putting up for you tomorrow. But if you want that teaser, let's get the likes up, guys. Marlionaire says, I'm really sorry if I pronounced that name. I'm so sorry. Says, good one. Please have a lengthy video on Nuno's tactics in Valencia and Porto. So that's a really interesting point that you brought up, because I've also been chatting to some people that I know regarding Valencia. People know that I love my La Liga. And I chatted to John Driscoll, who we've had on the show, did an interview with him regarding Luis Enrique. He's put me in touch with some people regarding who are very, very into their Valencia, and hopefully we're going to be chatting to some people about that. But that will be happening effectively if the news around Nuno steps up. So if it steps up, if it doesn't look like it is a smokescreen, which a lot of people do think that, then we will be reverting back to just normal stuff, as you would expect. Okay. I'm going to play you a little clip from the show. I can only do it on my phone, so I'm really, really hoping it comes through the speakers. So please let me know if you can hear it. Here we go.
To be honest, it surprised me that it's took this long for him to be linked with a job like Arsenal, to be fair. I mean, the job that he's done at Wolves is absolutely tremendous. I mean, it's off the scale of what any of us could have expected. I mean, we could have been challenging for the playoffs and people would have been ecstatic in that first season, but to win the league like we did and then cement ourselves and then this season push on again, it's been absolute dreamland. And I can't, thinking about it, the last time we've got a manager who was in doubt of being taken away from us was Mick McCarthy in South Korea, however mad that was. So really, it's a situation that none of us have been in. But again, none of us are surprised that it's happened because he's superb.
So there you go. Thoughts from Stu regarding his thoughts on how Nuno has taken over. If you want to hear the rest of that interview, then make sure you tune in and subscribe and turn those notifications on for the Gooner Talk, which will be out tomorrow afternoon around 5 o'clock. Going to be up editing and putting that all together for your viewing pleasure tomorrow. And that interview will be out regarding Nuno Espirito Santo. And maybe by that point, we will have a brand new manager in charge. Maybe. I mean, that would be a bit of a pain because I've put all the editing together, but who knows? It's the world of editing that we live in. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. I'll just answer a couple more questions. I'm nice like that. LV2 says, who would you like as new manager coach? Nuno really excites me. I know that he doesn't excite a lot of people, but he genuinely does excite me to see what he would do. My main choice, number one choice, is Marco Rosa. Followed very quickly by Jesse March at Red Bull Salzburg, Marco Rosa from Borussia Mönchengladbach, but Nuno would probably be the third. I genuinely think he would be. So yeah, you've got that, Richie Hartnett, who would be a dream replacement, Marco Rosa, all day long, all day, every single day. I would go for him. Do a reaction to the press conference, says Jeremiah. Is the press conference happening? Is the press conference going on right now? I will check my Twitter feed just to see if it is going on and we can see some of those comments because I'm sure they are flying in. Here we go. Harry Symeou, please go and follow Harry Symeou over on Twitter at harrysymeou.com. What world do we live in? He says that Unai is here. Video to follow shortly where I'll summarize over there. So he will summarize those comments. Gunner Blog is up posting the different comments about his press conference. So let's follow Mr. James McNicholas and see what he's saying. So Emery says, I think today we improve. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Surely he didn't say that. There's no way that he said that. Please say that. Please say that he's joking. Oh, God. Please don't say he's... Please tell me in the chat. Did he say that? Did he say that? I mean... What we'll do is I'm going to wrap things up over here because if I stick around for the press conference, we're going to be on here for an hour. And I have got work tomorrow, so I'm going to go to bed very soon and try and sleep on what is going on. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, people. I really, really appreciate it. I know that everyone is hurting right now, and I know that today and tonight is not the best time to be an Arsenal fan. I really, really do. But I feel like as a community, as the Gooner Talk community is growing, we're sticking together and we're having some really, really good discussions. I barely ever, I mean, very rarely see any ever arguments with you guys in the chat box. We barely ever disagree. The comments are 99% fantastic week in and week out, and I absolutely love you guys for it. So please make sure you continue to like the videos. Please make sure you tune in, hit those notification button because that Nuno Espirito Santo, Tactical Breakdown will be coming out for you with the interview with Stuart from Wolves Fancast tomorrow. So make sure you've got that in. I will see you again very, very soon. Make sure you check out that press conference. It's going to be interesting because if he genuinely said that we have improved, my God. As always, up the Arsenal. I will see you again very, very soon. Try and keep yourselves a bit happy and enjoy the rest of your week. See you soon. Bye-bye.